Hi friends, most people are damaging their brain with this one ingredient called added sugar. In fact, some people call type 3 diabetes dementia. But added sugar is everywhere, and that is where people get stuck. What do you actually eat instead? So today I'm going to show you some small everyday common foods that I eat to actively restore blood flow and metabolism to reverse your risk of dementia. And this is personal for me because my mom had dementia. So I'm doing everything I can since I've seen firsthand how dementia burns families, especially the children and surviving spouses who become caregivers. And it really saddens me to watch other families struggle like we did. By the way, my name is Dr. Lou. I've been practicing both infectious diseases and internal medicine for nearly 3 decades. 25% of people who already have dementia will be hospitalized for an infectious disease. And if you have an infection, you increase your risk by 70% to get dementia. So I have a unique perspective of dementia, not only because I'm an infectious disease medical doctor, but also because I was a caregiver. And hence, I'm making this video to share with you the 10 most powerful brain foods proven by science to improve your blood flow and metabolism. And I know you're busy, and sometimes you may not have any time, maybe 15 minutes to put something together. And each of these foods that I have here are easy to put together because I'm busy too. And as a bonus, I'll share with you my favorite products and where to get them. In case you didn't know, I'm a chocoholic, I thought, until I discovered I'm actually a sugaraholic. So over time, I've learned to appreciate dark chocolate without any added sugar. And yes, I know this bar just simply isn't going to taste good because it's 100% dark chocolate. But if you pair it with the right foods, it can taste delicious. So this chocolate bar is literally a dark chocolate blueberry bar with walnuts. This is brain food. Traditionally, chocolate is pretty junky to eat, right? So let's dissect why this is brain food and your Halloween chocolate is not. So there are 3 extra special things about this chocolate. First, it has active polyphenols to protect your blood flow and potentially can improve your processing time for recall. And when you eat milk chocolate made in the US, you're barely eating any real cocoa solids. If you're eating dark chocolate, that could be at least 30% cocoa solids. But if you get a chocolate that says 100% like I buy, then that is literally what is in this bar. That's why when you eat a normal candy bar, there isn't much cocoa solids. It won't really help you with memory. And in fact, it'll probably make it worse because it has so much added sugar. So if you choose darker chocolates, they will come with Prop 65 warning signs because unfortunately, you will be eating more heavy metals concentrated during the growing and processing time to make the chocolate. Unfortunately for consumers, the chocolate industry doesn't really care enough to get rid of the heavy metals since they think consumers don't care. I vote with my wallet. Heavy metals are directly related to dementia and liver toxicity, folks. And once you ingest them, there's really no way to get rid of them. It's very, very important that you do your homework when it comes to eating chocolate. And if you don't have time to do it, well, I did some homework for both of us. You can piggyback off of my homework. I've done a few videos on chocolate and contaminants. And through my research, I've realized that this one bar that I like has a reasonably low amount of lead and cadmium. So I actually gave this bar to my nephews and nieces during Christmas. And they were so excited. They all grabbed the bar and bit into it, and then their face changed. They didn't realize that there's absolutely no sugar in it. And when you eat it, you're eating basically the cocoa beans, and they're kind of bitter. I don't like to eat the bitter taste either, and that's why I have paired chocolate with blueberries. Now, I'm trying to improve my longevity as well as my metabolism. They both go together. And when you eat cocoa beans, they're bitter. Now, I don't like to eat it either because I don't like bitter stuff, but I eat it because it's good for me, good for my blood flow and my metabolism, good for longevity. But if you don't do your homework and randomly just eat any chocolate, then it may be full of toxins that counteract your goal of longevity. Now, the second ingredient are these blueberries. And they're packed with anthocyanins shown to improve memory and processing speed. There is really nothing wrong with eating them separate, but because this is so bitter, I wanted to combine a sweet and a bitter food so I could eat them together and enjoy this a little bit more, right? The sweetness of the berries balances out the bitterness of the chocolate. Now, the third ingredient that I added to this chocolate bar was walnuts. And walnuts are one of the most brain supportive foods because they deliver a unique combination of nutrients that directly influence brain structure, blood flow, and inflammation. They are rich in alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fat that is required, is essential, and it supports your brain membrane flexibility and signaling. Along with the polyphenols in the walnuts, they reduce oxidative stress in your brain. Walnuts also is a great source of vitamin E, which protects your neurons from damage, and compounds that improve endothelial function, meaning you have better blood flow to the brain. And on top of that, they're a mix of healthy fats, fiber, micronutrients. They help to stabilize blood sugar, which is critical for maintaining consistent cognitive performance and reducing long-term risks of neurodegeneration. In other words, it prevents dementia. So it took me less than 5 minutes to line up these blueberries, melt the chocolate, and add the walnut pieces, and then pour chocolate walnut over the berries. And then I threw it in the freezer, picked up my child, came back to record this. And as I get older, I realize I am even at higher risk than many people for dementia because I've been exposed to a massive amount of air pollution living in Southern California pretty much my entire life. My job makes me chronically sleep deprived. As a physician, and then I was a parent for 3 young kids, I ate pretty horribly in my young adult years. And of course, my mom had dementia. So maybe I have the ApoE4 gene, as a quarter of the population carries at least one copy. You know what? I don't know. I don't really care because there's nothing I could do about it. We know that just because you carry the gene, that doesn't mean you're going to get dementia. And lots of people with dementia don't have the gene. Now, I decided to look up if living in a different state increases or decreases your risk of dementia. Guess what? California has one of the highest risks of dementia, despite being sunny all year round. And it makes sense. Why? Because we have a ton of air pollution and we're sitting all the time. We're sitting in our cars. And it's not uncommon to be stuck on the freeway for 3 hours. And a day, you're probably sitting over 10 hours from your job, from the freeway. That increases your risk of dementia. So if you're currently sitting and watching this, you may want to stand up and move around a little bit. That's why it is a priority to have powerful brain protecting foods that will take you literally minutes to make. And I don't have all day to spend in the kitchen, neither do you, right? Because half the time I'm stuck on the road. But before you make this chocolate bar or eat any more chocolate, let me tell you why your typical Halloween chocolate is not going to work. You already know it's full of added sugar, so I'm not going to belabor that point. However, if you're eating milk chocolate, that milk contains a protein called casein. I know it's delicious, but it will interfere with your absorption of the beneficial polyphenols that you want from the cocoa beans, from paying for dark chocolate. Cheap chocolate has very little actual chocolate, which means it has very little antioxidants to protect your brain to begin with. And then you add milk to it, and then it's pretty much you have none. That's why I only eat dark chocolate. This is 100% cacao. There's no sugar. There's no milk fat. But I looked it up. There are polyphenols because just because it doesn't have milk doesn't mean they have polyphenols. Cacao is one of the richest dietary sources of flavonols, which are the polyphenols that I want. It directly improves blood flow to your brain. These flavonols, they increase nitric oxide signaling in blood vessels, allowing more oxygen and glucose to reach your neurons. And how do we know this, that it clinically works? Because people with literally blocked arteries who had pain and difficulty walking could walk further after they ate chocolate continuously for several weeks. And what does blood flow to the leg have to do with blood flow to the brain? Well, it's all the same system. So if you can't walk and you're having pain, you have atherosclerosis or blocked arteries. And believe me, it's going to be blocked in your brain. We all have atherosclerosis to a certain degree. How well you care for your body through your entire life dictates how bad it is. Blood is life. And as a person ages, many factors cause inflammation that will damage your blood vessels. Small blood vessels furthest from your heart gets damaged first, like the bottom of your toes, the back of your legs. And for men, they have impotence. For both men and women, they have back pain. You may start with tingling in your feet, loss of hair in your lower limbs, or you can get severe gangrene. And what you see happening to your toes is exactly what's happening in your brain. And that's why a lot of people, when they get imaging scans for other reasons, they find old, damaged brain, shrinkage of the brain. And eventually you will lose enough brain tissue that you're going to lose your memory, It'll hamper your ability to learn and your reaction time. And in the beginning, it's all subtle. It's microvascular disease, tiny blood vessels that stiffen and narrow. They fall long before your memory symptoms show up. So your average milk chocolate just has no leverage against this disease, especially if it's American milk chocolate, as it contains so little cocoa beans. And in the United States, milk chocolate legally only needs about 10% chocolate cocoa solids to qualify. The rest is mostly sugar, milk powder, cocoa butter, or whatever butter they put in it. American chocolate has very little distinctive taste, largely due to the production method. During manufacturing, American chocolate often undergoes a process that produces butyric acid, the same compound found in Parmesan cheese, and even small amounts in human vomit. Now, that may sound unpleasant, but many Americans, they grew up with that flavor and associate it with chocolate. That's not my kind of chocolate. But that's really not the issue. The issue is that they don't have enough polyphenols. There are not enough really cocoa powder in it. Dutch chocolate is even worse. That processing removes all the polyphenols. So don't eat Dutch chocolate if you're looking for polyphenols. And unfortunately, when you buy dark American chocolate, companies, they don't seem to have any safety standards, as they seem to keep having lots of heavy metals in it. Many have abnormally high levels of cadmium and lead. Really, it's unsafe. And to be fair, cocoa plants, they naturally absorb cadmium from the soil, particularly certain regions like in Latin America. Lead contamination, that occurs after harvest. That's during the drying and processing method. So there are ways to prevent both lead and cadmium contamination, and people can grow cocoa plants with acceptable levels. Cocoa from Latin America, especially Peru and Ecuador, tends to have higher cadmium levels because of volcanic ash or soil. Cocoa from West Africa, Ghana, Ivory Coast tends to have lower cadmium. That's my preferred kind of chocolate, lower levels of heavy metals. Here's how you can minimize your heavy metal levels in your chocolate. First, choose companies that actually test and publish their heavy metal levels. Second, prefer chocolates from West Africa cocoa plants, which tend to have lower cadmium. And I also stick to single origin cocoa when I can. And third, you want to just rotate your brands and rotate your sources rather than just eating large amount of one product every day. The higher the percent of cocoa, like this product, it's 100%. The higher the levels of beneficial compounds like polyphenols and flavonols and theobromine, that is great for your brain. Remember, higher cocoa often has more antioxidants. It has zero sugar, but it can also carry higher cadmium and lead. And I can't emphasize that enough. Don't collect heavy metals, folks. But when it comes to heavy metal contamination, the determining factor for me is really, again, where your beans are grown, not where the chocolate bar was manufactured. So the key to 100% cocoa, or very close to it, is to find one with low heavy metals. And that's why my chocolate bar is the Montezuma brand. Now, I'm going to melt this in the microwave and pour it in the mold. And let me show you how I did this.
Hi, friends. I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
So let me show you how I made this chocolate bar. I'm going to melt this in the microwave. I'm going to actually crush it in a package, and it's going to come out in pieces. I literally just microwave it several times until it melts. I'll be right back. While the chocolate is melting, I'm going to just add some blueberries to this mold. And these are actually frozen blueberries. So you can line them up as straight as you want. I just kind of scoop it in with a spoon. And then I'm going to add some walnuts to this. And let me go get the chocolate. Okay, so I melted this at 30-second intervals and 3 times. It's not a lot of chocolate. Basically, I'm distributing the heat a little bit more, because the microwave doesn't actually melt properly. There's nothing wrong with microwaving food, by the way. I know some people don't like to do it. If you don't want to do it, you can use a double boiler. I don't have that kind of time, or nor do I want to clean up. That's why I microwave it. All it is energy that heats up liquid. So it's perfectly safe for your food. It just doesn't cook evenly. so that if you have anything raw, you can't trust it to sterilize your food. It's kind of an emulsion like this. I'm just going to pour it over, right? Some of this, the blueberries will help it to freeze right away because the blueberries are frozen. But I'm probably going to put it in the freezer for a little bit. And when you're done, it's going to look like this bar. It's been out for a while, right? And I'm going to break it. See how crunchy it is? You can see the blueberries inside. I'm going to try it. It's delicious. If I ate any more of that bar, I wouldn't be able to do the rest of this video because my mouth is going to be all sticky. Now, I know this bar is expensive. It's probably somewhere between $8 to $10. It's like buying fine cheese. So I don't want to wolf this down right now. You know, it's not like eating French fries. You really should just eat a little bit, eat it sparingly, and let it melt in your mouth. However, if you're on a budget, I have another great cocoa source that's much cheaper, which I use to make my favorite chocolate shakes. So here are the ingredients for my shake. I have frozen cherries. I have strawberries. These are fresh. I have frozen blueberries again. And I have kale. Oops. Plus I have some soy milk and I have some cocoa powder. So you can add blueberries or you can just eat the cherries and strawberries. It's all up to you. Okay. What you want to make sure is that your cherries have no pits because if it's pitted and you break it apart, you'll have some cyanide in your food. You don't really want that. So first you want to wash these items. I wash all frozen items before I use it. A quick note before we continue. I see a lot of messages in the comments all the time from people who have watched a few of my videos and they didn't realize that they weren't subscribed. So if you find value in my videos, can you please click the like and double check that you're subscribed? It's free and it really does help get my message to other people. And if you are subscribed, thank you very much for joining me to change the world. Now, cherries are super good because they support your brain health, mainly because they are rich in anthocyanins, potent antioxidants that help reduce oxidative stress in your brain, reduce inflammation in your brain tissue. We all need that, right? These compounds have been shown to improve blood flow to your brain and may support your memory, your processing speed, and your overall cognitive function. Cherries also contain small amounts of melatonin, which can help you regulate your sleep. And that matters because sleep is one of the most important, most powerful drivers of brain repair, memory and consolidation, and toxin clearance. And on top of that, their polyphenols, they may help protect neurons from damage over time, making them a simple but effective addition to your brain supportive diet. Now, strawberries, they are excellent for brain health because they are packed with flavonoids, especially anthocyanins and quercetin. They both help to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in your brain, as well as the rest of your body. These compounds are so supportive for your neuronal signaling. They protect against age-related cognitive decline, and they have been associated with slower memory loss over time. So strawberries also improve blood flow to your brain, which enhances oxygen delivery and nutrient delivery, and they also help stabilize blood sugars due to their fiber, their water, and both of these are super important because remember those glucose swings, they can impair focus and cognition. So strawberry candy is not the way to go. In addition, their high vitamin C content supports neurotransmitter production and protects your brain from damage, making strawberries a simple, powerful food for long-term brain function. Now, then we have soy milk. You can use other plant milks, but I prefer soy. I think that it's brain healthy, especially as a part of a balanced diet. So it provides plant-based proteins that supplies amino acids needed to build neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. Soy milk also contains magnesium, which supports nerve signaling, lower blood pressures, and stress regulation. And one of the more unique features is its content of isoflavonols, plant compounds that can have mild estrogenic effects in the body. They've been studied for their potential support for cognitive function and protecting neurons, particularly as we age. And just as important, soy milk is low in saturated fat and free of cholesterol, which helps support healthy blood vessels. And that includes the ones that supply blood to your brain. So better vascular health means better blood flow, which is critical for long-term cognitive performance. And when you eat more inflammatory or processed protein sources, your soy milk can be actually helpful to counteract that and to help support your brain. Many milks are also fortified with vitamin B12, which everybody needs to do after 50, and vitamin D, two nutrients strongly linked to cognitive function, mood, and long-term brain health if you get enough of it. And that is especially in people who don't eat any animal food. But make sure it's fortified. Just check the back of your package. The main thing is to watch the sugar, the added sugar. Unsweetened versions are best. Excessive sugar, again, counteracts many of these beneficial compounds that are reducing inflammation because blood sugar swings impairs cognitive performance. Avoid the flavored and the chocolate milks. Make your own. Let me show you how to do that. First, you got a jar, okay? And then you're gonna need a blender. I have a hand blender right here. Let me move my stuff so I don't get anything on the floor. And then I have some kale. So you wanna strip the kale off from the stem because the stem may not be as tasty. So I usually put like 3 or 4 kales. These are all pre-washed. I never eat anything not washed, from the air pollution to whatever else is around. So then I'll put some cacao. I just pour it in the box sometimes because I forgot to bring a spoon. Roughly, you can add about a tablespoon. So I'm eyeballing it just because I'm getting kind of lazy. All right, I'm gonna put all my cherries in here. I'm gonna use a spoon for this because this is kind of messy. Now, these are frozen cherries that I washed because I'm looking for pits. So I'll open these up to make sure that there are no pits, okay? And then I'm gonna put some strawberries, right? I usually will put the stem in it because it's edible if I think the stem looks good. And then I'm gonna add some blueberries. I've washed these as well. These are frozen blueberries, wild frozen blueberries. I'll put usually around a cup or so. And lastly, I will put the soy milk in the end. Pour it in. I just put a little bit of water to help me blend this, right? And you can always put more soy milk. It's up to you. Okay, so let me attach my blender. So the trick is not to put the cocoa powder on top because then it kind of goes all over the place and you start inhaling it. Okay, all that took me less than a minute, right? Everything's blended quite well. Pour it in your original glass if you want to share it. I usually drink it from here so I don't have to wash anymore. But this is a delicious soy milk-based antioxidant, full of flavonoids berry shake, right? That's one of my favorites to use. All right, so let's move on. This chocolate is what I buy. This cocoa powder, actually. There's no sugar. It's just cocoa powder. It's like $3, right? You can't beat this price. You can make so many shakes with it. I use this to flavor so many different products, from chocolate milks to baking, or like I said, in my shake, right? So I did want to talk about the kale. It is one of the most brain supportive foods because it delivers a dense combination of nutrients that will protect your neurons, improve your blood flow, reduce inflammation. It's everything you want in a food. It's especially rich in vitamin K, which plays a super important role in the sphingolipid metabolism. That's important for maintaining the structure of your brain cell membranes and has been linked to better memory, slower cognitive decline. It's literally a cruciferous vegetable that is so good for your health. It also has lutein, a carotenoid that accumulates in your brain tissue and is associated with improved processing speed and cognitive performance. And in addition, kale is so high in antioxidants like vitamin C and polyphenols that help to neutralize all the stress your brain goes to. It has folate, which supports methylation and neurotransmitter balance. It's high in magnesium, potassium, and helps you regulate your blood pressure. It helps you regulate your nerve signaling, your vascular function. It's just better for blood flow. It's better for your brain. So when you eat it regularly, kale supports both the structural integrity and the day-to-day function to the brain, making it one of the most powerful leafy greens for long-term cognitive health. The last ingredients are 2 spices. This is saffron. All you need is a cup of hot water. You put 3 to 5 threads in it. It takes less than a second. And you put this in and you let it seep until it's golden. Let me go heat up this water and I'll show you what it looks like. So I heated up this water, and the trick to drinking saffron tea is not to have boiling water. Okay, so that's just kind of a little bit hot, but not overly hot, right? So you don't want to put too many. I'm just going to put a couple and then just let it soak on its own. And slowly it's going to turn a golden yellow. If you want it sweet, don't add sugar. Go get a date or put a cherry in. At a neurotransmitter level, saffron has been shown to help regulate serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, which are critical for mood, motivation, and focus. That is why several studies have found saffron to perform similarly to some antidepressant medications in mild to moderate depression. That's without the side effects. Now, its active compounds, mainly crocin and safranol, they appear to prevent the reuptake of those neurotransmitters, which allows them to stay active for longer in your brain. And at the cellular level, saffron is a powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agent. The brain is highly vulnerable to oxidative stress. That's why I keep mentioning it, because it is a high energy demand organ. So saffron, it helps to neutralize these free radicals that can damage neurons. It also reduces inflammatory signaling, which is increasingly recognized as a driver of cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases. So saffron also supports blood flow to your brain and improves oxygen and nutrient delivery. This matters because even subtle reductions in cerebral blood flow, that impairs your memory and your processing speed, your recall time. Now, some research suggests that saffron may help to protect against conditions like Alzheimer's disease by reducing amyloid plaques. I'm not quite sure about that, but hey, it's all positive. Another unique benefit in its impact is on sleep and emotional regulation. And by supporting melatonin, calming your neural activity, saffron can improve your sleep quality. Better sleep directly enhances memory consolidation and brain repair, just like those cherries. And the key with saffron is that it's potent with very small amounts. So you don't want to put too much. Just 2 or 3 threads can provide benefits, making it less about quantity and more about consistency. Strategically use it because it's expensive. It is by far the most expensive spice in the world. And the reason comes down to how it's grown, it's harvested, and how little you actually get from each plant. Saffron comes from the flower Crocus sativus, and the usable part is just a tiny little stigma inside each flower. Each flower produces only 3 delicate threads, and they must be picked by hand, handled carefully, harvested within a very short window, often just a few weeks in a year. To put this into perspective, it takes about 75,000 flowers to produce 1 pound of saffron. That's entirely manual labor. No machines can do it efficiently without damaging it. So what you're paying for is not just the plant, it's intense human labor. It costs 10 times more per ounce than vanilla beans and 100 times more per ounce than turmeric. Saffron is often called the red gold because it can cost more than many precious materials by weight. So if you can't afford it, no worry, I got a backup. It's called black cumin. It's also known as Nigelia sativa. It's also called black seed. It's one of the most studied traditional remedies for overall health, including for your brain. Black cumin is a biblical spice. Its power comes largely from a compound called thymoquinone, which has a strong antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. So the brain is highly sensitive, again, to oxidative stress, and thymoquinone helps protect neurons from damage while reducing inflammatory signals that will impair your memory and your cognition over time. So at the neurotransmitter level, black cumin may help support GABA and serotonin balance, which can promote calmness, reduce anxiety, right? Can't learn much when you're anxious, and improve your mood. Some studies suggest that it may enhance memory and learning by protecting your hippocampal function, the part of the brain involved in forming new memories. It is also supportive for your vascular health, helping to improve blood flow again and reducing oxidative damage to blood vessels. Better circulation means more oxygen, more nutrients, means more clearing of toxins in your brain tissue. This is all critical for focus and long-term cognitive performance. Another important angle is its effect on your metabolic health. Black cumin has been shown to improve blood sugar regulation, reduce insulin resistance, since poor glucose control is so strongly linked to bad memory, increasing your dementia risk. This indirect pathway is actually one of the most powerful brain benefits. The key with black cumin is consistency, not high doses. You can sprinkle it literally in your shake, right, to get some. It is that easy. You can grind it up. You can toast it a little bit for like 30 seconds to bring out the nutty flavor. Bon appetit. That is really good. This is all anti-inflammatory, brain-supportive food. And when you combine all these nutrient-dense foods, you will support your brain to prevent dementia. But of course, this isn't enough food for you to eat, right? So if you want other ideas, watch the next video.